The Pokemon Premier League is back for its third season and your Vancouver Titans are once again competing. In the previous two seasons we failed to make playoffs, so it's time to lock in and win the whole thing. And to do that, I've assembled one of my favourite teams I've ever drafted. This season the PPL has 20 coaches. Unfortunately we were 6th in the order, meaning we could get a strong S tier pick. I should probably explain the point system. So this season we have a hybrid of tiers and points, where each coach could draft a maximum of 1 S tier, 1 A tier, 2 B tiers, as many C tiers and 2 D tiers while staying within the 120 point budget. There was some E tiers as well, which we capped at a maximum of 2 to stop the drafts from getting too top heavy. This is to keep things more balanced, thanks to Addison last season for having a broken team and for Chase for giving her such a broken team. Anyway, back to the draft, and with our first pick we grabbed our S tier. Arguably the best Pokemon on the board, the master of roll compression and our captain for the season, Great Tusk. With one pick, we're able to tick so many boxes, with Great Tusk being a strong physical attacker with powerful stabs and amazing coverage. Great utility with knockoff, stealth rock and rapid spin. It's a physically defensive tank as well as a potential setup win con, thanks to the combination of booster energy and bulk up. Its unpredictability makes it an absolute demon to face and a joy to build with. You know, there's a reason why this Pokemon replaced Lando T. There's no matchup where Great Tusk is bad, but it does have its weaknesses, and that's where my next pick comes in. I wanted the best possible partner for Great Tusk, and in my opinion, the best one is my A tier pick, Raging Bolt. Raging Bolt gives me one of the strongest wall breakers in the game with excellent stabs and Thunderclap for priority, not to mention a good pivot move thanks to Volt Switch. On top of that, it has the perfect setup move in Calm Mind to boost its already huge special attack stat. This past Paradox combination pairs so well together, with Raging Bolt dealing with the water, grass and flying types that Great Tusk struggles with, and both will break down grass and fairy types for each other. Next up we have our B tier, Slowking. I wanted to cover some of our weaknesses that my first two Pokemon had, mostly Ice, Psychic and Fairy types, and wanted to free up both my premier picks to be run more offensively, so Slowking fits the bill really nicely. Most fairy types are special, and although ice types have freeze dry, Slowking's special defense is high enough not to be phased by either. On top of this, Slowking is a fantastic slow pivot that baits in bulky waters for Raging Bolt or dark or electric types for Great Tusk. On top of that, Slowking has great utility and is a threat in its own right thanks to the multiple setup moves it has in its arsenal. At this point, I wanted to address the lack of ghost resist on my team, not to mention nothing on our draft was particularly fast. So I went ahead and picked up Zarude. Gen 9 was really kind to the Grass Dark Monkey, giving it access to knockoff Swords Dance and Trailblaze, making it a much more potent threat than before. Zarude's great natural bulk allows it to act as a fast or a bulky pivot for the team and relieves the pressure on Raging Bolt and Great Tusk by switching into grass and dark types respectively. Not to mention Zarude partners really well with Slowking, being able to cover most of Slowking's weaknesses whilst Slowking in return is able to cover most of Zarude's, especially since Slowking can pivot around so freely with its regenerator and Zarude can knock off items, meaning that opposing teams' heavy duty boots will not be able to save them. So I was pretty happy with my first 4 picks. But I realised that I was in fact very weak to Fairy, and although my team pressures them greatly, I wanted something that we brought in on a U-turn or a Volt Switch and immediately punish them. So with our 5th pick we have Ceruledge. With amazing stab options and just enough coverage, Ceruledge can be devastating late game win con or even a mid game breaker, with Swords Dance combined with weak armor to boost past even the strongest of walls. Not to mention, Ceruledge has a decent utility move pool, so it may be more than just a setup bot for this season. I planned for Ceruledge to be my Terra Captain for this season, but in the end I went with a different plan, but Ceruledge is still a fantastic Pokemon that can act with a great typing regardless. And with that said, our first Terra Captain. There were some great Terra Captains on the board, but I needed to budget on my first Terra Captain to be able to get my second one. But by no means is this a Pokemon to overlook. Hisuian Braviary is a crazy wall breaker, able to throw off terror-flying sheer force boosted hurricanes, being borderline impossible to switch into, of course we have to hit, and I also want Terra Steel, since this allows Braviary to set up more freely with a better defensive typing. Braviary has fantastic coverage, just enough to be able to hit the things that it struggles to hit normally, not to mention it has Tinted Lens as a second ability to make switching into it even harder, and on top of that it gives me another way of removing hazards with defog, and other great utility and coverage to take advantage of. Okay, so our team was a little bit slow at this point and we needed some D tiers. Enter Ribombee. At 124 speed, Ribombee gives me a great way of revenging some of the most potent top tiers in the game, whilst also making prep a little bit more difficult for my opponents thanks to Sticky Web. Sticky Web potentially negates our team's greatest weakness in fast wall breakers, and allows our own wall breakers to outspeed our opponents. But that's not all, as Ribombee itself can serve as a great setup sweeper, since it has access to the crazy setup move in Quiver Dance, as well as having really good stab options in Bug Buzz and Moonblast. Now with our last few picks, our draft was kind of top heavy, so I wanted my next pick to provide a good amount of utility, and I also wanted a Pokemon to fill that speed gap between Zarude and Ribombee, so I picked up Maushold. Known for its ability to bomb populations, Maushold has more than just a single move to it. As a normal type, it comes with an array of utility options, 2 great abilities, and of course, the setup to make it something that opponents really have to respect. Fast Encore is incredible this gen, and despite not having the bulk of a Screamtail or the offensive presence of an Iron Valiant, for more than half the price, it should fill the role pretty serviceably. Now we're getting to the end of the draft, and our last 2 picks, we really had to make the most of our remaining budget. With only 11 points left, I could get multiple Pokemon to fill the numbers, or a couple of good value picks to round out the squad, and I chose to go with the latter. There wasn't a great deal that the team lacked, but since my only fairy checked is Ceruledge, I wanted to fix that, and Weezing was just right for this team. Strong utility, great resist for my draft, and a defensive check that relieves Great Tusk from that responsibility. Weezing is the best option for my team at this point. It gives me Toxic Spikes as well, and it also meant that I was able to pick up my second Terra Captain, and that Pokemon is Alolan Sandslash. This one may be a bit obvious after the Slowking pick, but as a secondary Terra user for this draft, Alolan Sandslash actually ticks a lot of boxes. Hazards, removal, and a Slush Rush sweeper, with the option to Terra into an Ice, Electric, or Ground type, allows for it to either boost the already strong array of Ice stabs, or give me Physical Bolt Beam or Mamoswine coverage, both of which make Alolan Sandslash really hard to check, which can open the door for many of our top picks to come in and finish the game. And that's going to be our draft. Like I said at the start, I really like this team, and it fits my favourite playstyle of bulky offense nicely. But what do you think of our draft and our chances in the upcoming season? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're there, why not leave a like and subscribe? We're on our way to 1500 subs, and your support can help us reach that goal. And beyond that, our goal of 2k by the end of the year. Our week 1 is going to be against the Dom Fnatic in what is a founder versus current commissioner jack-off. I probably should have put that in the video. So look forward to that. We will have team builders as well as the battle next Sunday. I hope you're all excited for this season. I know I am. But with that, I'm going to get out of here. Until the next one, have a great day, guys. Peace.